Hi boys and girls, it's Miss Rossi. Today we're going to start our castle project inspired by artist Paul Klee. In your art folder you should find a packet of papers labeled with our artist's name. You should have a paper that looks like one of his paintings with all of the shapes making up almost like a building with the sun. You need a black piece of paper and a white paper. I'm going to put the black paper and our castle looking paper to the side and keep those in my art folder until next week. This week all we need is our white piece of paper, our plain white piece. We're going to be creating our own castle inspired by our artist's work, but we need some fun and colorful paper to use to make our castle. So on our plain white piece of paper, we're going to create a beautiful tie-dyed, colorful looking design that we can use next time to make our castle. So today I have some watercolors and some washable markers with me. You can use whatever you have at home to color with, but I'll show you how I can use both of these materials the same. So I can turn my watercolor markers here into paint on my paper and let them all blend together to create a really nice effect. I also have some water and a paintbrush to use to blend my colors together. So all we're going to be doing today is making a nice colorful paper that we can use to make our castle next week. We're going to collage our castle next week, so we're going to be cutting this paper and turning it into our castle. So you don't want to draw a picture or paint a picture of a castle. We want to create an abstract design using colors, lines, and shapes to totally fill up and transform our white paper. We don't want to draw a picture because we're going to be cutting it up next week and you might not want to cut up what you draw. So I'm going to start by just grabbing my washable markers and I'm going to pull some different colors to use to start to create my design. So you can create whatever kind of design. Maybe you want to do a pattern, or maybe you just want to create a paper that has all different colors all mixed together. So whatever kind of material you're using, the most important thing today is to just fill up the white space and transform our paper into all different colors. So I'm going to start with my markers and I'm just going to draw some different blobs and roughly color those in. Now if you're using crayons or colored pencils, or you're not going to be using water to blend your colors together, you want to try and fill up your paper as best as you can to not leave any white space. Since I'm going to add water on top of this, it's going to spread out and blend my colors together to fill in my paper once I'm done. So it's okay if right now, as I'm drawing and filling in my space, that I leave some white spots here and there. So I'm just going to start with my primary colors, my red, my blue, and my yellow. And I'm just adding different little blobs of my colors here and there on my paper. And now the great thing about washable markers is once you add water, they start to blend together and turn into like a watercolor paint. So even if you don't have paint at home, you can use your markers and turn those into paint by just adding a little bit of water to them. So I am just going in and filling in all these different spaces on my paper. Now I'm going in with some of my secondary colors, like my orange, green, and purple, and just adding some more blobs of color here and there. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect since I am going to add water. My only goal today is to make a bright and colorful piece of paper that I can use next week. If you don't have watercolors and you are only going to use markers today, you're going to want to keep using your markers until you fill up most of that space with all of your different colors. Since I am going to add watercolor to my picture also, I am only going to fill in maybe just this little section, and then I'm going to use my watercolors for the rest. So I think that's going to be good for now. Now I'm just going to take my water on my paintbrush and paint right on top of my marker. So I got my paintbrush nice and wet in my water. I wiped it off on the edge so it didn't drip all over the table. And now I can just paint right over my marker. And I don't know if you guys can see that on the camera, but my marker is starting to create paint on my paper. So that red is starting to spread out. It's filling in all those little white gaps that I had before. It's even starting to mix together with those other colors. So now it's mixing together with that yellow and it's turning into orange. And I can just play around and experiment with all my colors and see how they mix together. So this is what I meant when I said that our washable markers can turn into watercolor paint. Once you add water, they spread out and they turn right into paint like magic before your eyes on your paper. I do have to keep adding some more water on here so my colors can blend and spread together. You don't want to press too hard and you don't want to rub back and forth too much, otherwise you're going to get a hole in your paper. You just want to be nice and gentle with your paintbrush, going back and forth, blending your colors together. Ooh, now I'm starting to get some green where my yellow is mixing with my blue. And some purple where my red is mixing with my blue. And once this is dry, if you want to add more color to it, you can always let it dry first and then go back in with your markers and add more water on the top afterwards to blend things together even more. I think I'm going to go in now with my watercolor paints to fill in the rest of my space and add some more colors and let those mix together on my paper. But again, our goal is to just fill in our entire paper with all different colors so we have a really fun and exciting looking paper that we can use when it's time to make our castle next week. And you can use your watercolor paints on top of your markers, and those will blend together with your markers, or you can just fill in the rest of your space with your watercolors. All right, that looks pretty good. I filled in all the white space on my paper. I let my colors blend together and get a little bit crazy. And now I'm going to save this and let it dry for next week. Next week, we're going to use our other two papers to create a castle, just like one of our artist's paintings. So once this is dry, you want to save it in your art folder until next time. You don't have to send a photo or video of your artwork in today for our assignment since we will be finishing it next time. So just keep your papers in a safe place so we can make a castle next week. I'll see you then. Bye.